of our time was spent teaching on constitutional meaning and defending religious freedom and rights. Haven't done it for a while. We got a bunch of people today that have camped out in this country and have decided that the so-called separation of church and state, which was in a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to some Baptists and is not in the Constitution. That phrase is not in the Constitution, in spite of what people tell you. And there are those that have decided that separation of church and state is a vehicle to make this country anti-religious and, what's worse, anti-Christian. Romans 13 says that Christians ought to respect the authority that is, speaking of government. Now, in the book of Hebrews, it says, obey those that have rule over you, for they watch for your soul. That phrase has to do with spiritual rulership. There's no government agency that watches for your soul. The Bible also speaks of governmental authority. Every authority that is established by God. Even the bad ones are allowed by Him. This country, I firmly believe, was formed under God's direction for these last days. And I may preach a message before the year is out on the one chapter in the Bible that speaks of the last days and is strictly conformed like a profile or a sketch that is drawn to locate a criminal, though in this case it's not a criminal. There's only one nation in history that fits the profile of that chapter. Now, some poor Bible scholars and quasi-idiots say the only place you find the USA in the Bible is in the middle of Jerusalem. Jerusalem. Well, they're full of it. Isaiah has a whole chapter on the United States. It's the only government in the history of mankind that was formed by contract out of the thinking of John Locke's philosophy of the social contract, and in the background of Rutherford's great work, Rex Lex versus Lex Rex, is the king law or is the law king? This is a country of law. The king granted the law in England. The law grants limited kingship, even though it takes a different title in this country. The government was allowed to come into existence via a contract in which the people gave away certain things for certain purposes that are stated in the preamble of the Constitution and limited the power of government to those powers enumerated in the Constitution. And it still would not be ratified by the colonies until it was recognized that there are certain inalienable rights that only God can give.